Stories are the most powerful thing on earth. They are literally life and death. Wars are waged based on the story of who is the hero and who is the villain. You are the result of a story your parents told each other, the one-night stand, the soulmate, and friends who became so much more. Life and death. So wouldn't you like to understand them better, these stories? How Story Works, an elegant guide to the craft of storytelling by Lani Diane Rich, demystifies stories and helps you understand why you love what you love, why you hate what you hate, and why prologues are almost always a bad idea. How Story Works by Lani Diane Rich. Available on Amazon in ebook, audiobook, and paperback form. Get your copy today.
Welcome to Still Pretty, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast from Chipperish Media. I'm film scholar and world without shrimp, Noelle LaCroix.
And I'm story expert and Lord of the Hammers, Lani Diane Rich. And we're here today to talk about Triangle, the 11th episode of Season 5.
Triangle aired on January 9th, 2001, and was written by Gene Espenson and directed by Christopher Hibbler.
As you all should know by now, we are a fully spoiled Buffy podcast. So if you haven't seen the whole thing, what the hell have you been doing with the last 20 years? You want credit for not feeding on bleeding disaster victims?
Well, yeah.
Let's go on patrol. In Triangle, Xander suffers from the loss of Riley, and Buffy deals with the breakup by dusting a few vampires at the local convent and then hanging around to inquire about nun life.
Do you have to be, super religious?
Giles goes to England to visit the Watchers Council and ask them what they know about Glory, and Anya and Willow are both excited to watch over the magic box, just not together.
Don't worry, Giles. I'll help her take care of everything. It'll be ship-shape. Better. It'll be shop-shape.
Xander, she's talking to Giles like I'm not here. Make her stop.
Spike sits in his lair practicing an apology to Buffy with Buffy the Mannequin, and it goes, well...
And you ungrateful bitch!
At the magic box, Anya and Willow argue about what does and does not constitute stealing. And when they pull in Xander to adjudicate, he makes a hasty retreat, with Tara booking it right behind him. They continue to fight as Willow practices her spell to create magical sunlight, but as Willow gets distracted and angry, a giant troll magically emerges before them and destroys the place with his hammer before running out the door.
He's not a ball of sunshine.
Willow and Anya steal Giles' car to go chase after the troll, arguing all the way. Tara tells Buffy about the fight between Willow and Anya, and Buffy over-identifies and freaks out that Xander and Anya are going to break up.
They can't break up.
I think
They have a beautiful love.
Buffy and Tara go back to the magic shop and find the place trashed and Willow and Anya gone. Xander and Spike are bonding at the Bronze when Olaf the troll comes in demanding mead and babies. Xander tries to talk him out of eating babies, but Spike is, well, Spike.
Or maybe you can fight him.
Yeah, I could do that, but I'm paralyzed with not caring very much.
Everyone shows up at the Bronze, and Olaf complains about Anya ruining all his fun. Just like when they were dating.
And we're what, surprised by this?
Willow tries to get rid of Olaf with another spell, but Olaf just trashes the place, injuring a number of patrons, and runs out. While Spike tends to the victims without so much as licking any of the free blood, Anya and Willow rush back to the magic box to figure out how to get the better of Olaf. As they research spells, they both realize that their conflict is really about how neither one trusts the other not to hurt Xander. Then Olaf comes in and tries to kill them, and Xander interrupts, putting up a fight that Olaf actually respects.
I shall reward you. Only one of your women shall die, and you shall be the one to choose.
Xander refuses to choose, and Olaf snaps his wrist. Buffy comes in and fights with Olaf while Willow and Anya work together to take his hammer away, which is the source of his power. They get it away from him, and Buffy goes in for the killing blow, but then Olaf picks her up and tosses her across the room.
Oh, yeah. I forgot he still has all that troll strength.
Olaf mocks Anya and Xander's love, and Buffy over-identifies again, knocking him out. Willow does a spell that sends him somewhere else, possibly to a land full of trolls, possibly to a world without shrimp, and everything is fine. Until later, when Giles returns and talks about Dawn being a mystical key with Joyce and Buffy, all while Dawn listens quietly from the staircase. All right, Noelle, so here we are at Triangle, the sitcomiest of all sitcommy Buffy episodes.
Is it the sitcomiest?
I think it might be the sitcomiest. Here's the thing. Jane Espenson is delightful, and I absolutely love her. She is so funny and absolutely has kind of like this very sitcommy, this very punchliney kind of sense of humor, which is expressed to its like fullest, best expression. I think in Triangle, it feels very sitcommy to me.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean,
which isn't bad. It's funny. I love it.
I'm racking my brain.
Yeah.
I'm racking my brain for Espensonian sitcomminess. I mean,
Yeah.
does it feel more sitcommy because it's essentially an episode about relationships?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that part of? I mean, I don't know.
It's sitcommy because it's just so jokey. It is constantly like going for the joke. It's joke, joke. And they all got the. If you take a scene from Triangle and put a laugh track underneath it, you will not be able to tell the difference between that and an episode of Friends.
That would be so much fun.
I know.
That would be so much fun. I wish I had the editing chops to do that.
I'm feeling a little temptation that might happen. I'm not making any promises. That might happen.
Oh,
We'll
please
see.
do it. Please do it for the Patreon. It wouldn't have to be the whole episode. Just like choose a scene. And then
I'll just choose a scene and see if I can put some laugh track underneath it and see what because honestly, it feels extremely sitcommy to me. But it is a lot of fun. And what did you think? How do you like this episode?
I actually really like this episode. I think I misremembered this episode as having a completely different tone than it actually has. I enjoyed it quite a bit. If for no other reason than it is about relationships in this way that, you know, we're always talking about how with Buffy, everything is a metaphor and like the monster is a metaphor.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like to a certain degree, you could take the supernatural elements out of this story and just have a real relationship kind of complex bad ex-boyfriend comes back and like, you know, like I just love Olaf the Troll.
Played beautifully by Abraham Ben-Ruby, who is absolutely adorable.
He is lovely.
It's not a terribly believable troll. Somebody who has been, I guess, like banished to live inside of a crystal for 1,000 years comes out saying, "Give me your meat and your babies," but then using other, expression that is extremely modern. Like when we were dating. When he talks to Anya.
Yeah.
All of it feels a little bit weird. A little bit. I guess like anachronistic is kind of the word for it, but not really.
I know.
Yeah.
But it works. Okay, see, it works for me. I like it.
Yeah.
Especially with Olaf. And I don't know why. It might just be that he is so like happy to be a troll.
He really does. I think his troll expression is his best self.
Yeah, well, and Xander even calls him on it. Xander's like, "You seem to enjoy being a troll." And Olaf says, "I adjusted," which I love. I just love so much. But yeah, it's a great, like the anachronistic nature of the choice of, just like you always did when we were dating. I mean, dating is way too contemporary, especially for this troll who's like, "I'm going to make merry sport with your daughters," and he's just the worst.
Well, also he's Olaf and she's Anyanka and they are from some Norse country or something,
knows?
But he comes out with the perfect American accent.
It's
completely understanding English, like all this stuff. Like, okay, look, first of all, anybody out there who is rolling their eyes at me looking for the realistic nature of Olaf the Troll being released from a crystal, like, I'm on your side. Roll away. I get it. I'm just saying that it doesn't add a level of believability to the character of Olaf, but the character of Olaf himself is really, really fun.
I enjoy him. I enjoy him
I do
so
too.
much. I did not cheat, not in my heart. It was only one wench. Like he's so scenery chewing. It's so good. It's so good. But what I love about it, part of what I love about it is it is kind of chilling when you take away the trollness. Like, this really could be a bad, abusive ex-boyfriend, or just like a just a, drunken lout of an ex-boyfriend come back to break your boyfriend's wrist. It feels, we don't get a lot of like bodily harm in Buffy for a show that involves so much fighting. There's not a lot of that just kind of casual violence of, I'm not going to choose, crack, now choose. It's dark.
It is. It has a really, really dark moment. That moment when, he says, Xander, you choose which one of your women is going to live and which is going to die. That's like a huge, horrible choice to have to make. And in a regular episode of Buffy, right, if you put that choice on any character where they have to make this terrible, terrible choice. First of all, we would make them make the choice because Whedon has never found a torture that he is not a huge fan of. And also, hopefully play out the consequences of that choice. Instead, we have this moment where he refuses to make the choice. He pays with his wrist, and then we get distracted by other things, and we never actually make him make that choice. So it was for me, like, it felt like an opportunity for pain that we skipped past, which is very not Whedon. My guess is that he was off on vacation that week. And Espenson was able to get something in where we're just going to play around with this idea and then, skip past it.
Yeah. I mean,
but it was, it's fun.
It gives Anya the opportunity to sacrifice herself for Xander, or attempt to sacrifice herself for Xander, which, of course, is supposed to be the, that seals it. She's not going to do anything to hurt Xander.
Right.
Which,
unless Xander cheats on her, in which case she'll turn him into a troll.
I mean,
yeah. I think we've established that Anya has this in her personality, because she turned Olaf into a troll before she was made into Evangelistine. It's actually the resume item that got her the job.
I was going to say, it's what got her the job.
Yes. So the fact that that means that she wouldn't do that to Xander, I think, is probably wishful thinking of some sort.
I feel like it's narrative wishful thinking. Like, it's the thing that we do in narrative where we're like, and that seals it.
And this is proof that she will never, I would never hurt Xander. Yes, you would.
I mean,
if he hurt you, you would hurt him. That's what you would do. None of us are fooled, Anya. We love you, but none of us are fooled. So, I don't know. Like, I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. I don't buy the deeper moments, and it is almost all joke, which, by the way, I like. I mean, I think it's fun. Like, the fact that it's sitcom-y isn't a problem for me. It's just something I notice.
I mean, the fact that it opens with Xander and Anya in bed, and Xander's like, oh, Riley's gone. I'm so bummed. Like, what?
Xander processes the end of that relationship more than even Buffy does.
Right.
Like, Buffy, my favorite thing is this moment where Dawn comes in to talk to Buffy, right?
Yeah.
And Buffy's like, yeah, he left and it's a bummer, but I'll get over it. And I'm like, yeah, you will, because you didn't care. Like, when Angel broke up with her, she's weeping on Willow's lap. It feels like I'm dying inside. And we had this whole thing for forever. It took her forever. We were well into season 4 before she was starting to get over the loss of Angel. And then we had, of course, the swap back and forth with I Will Remember You over in the Angel series, which is the most devastating episode of Angel ever. With the exception of maybe the end. Anyway, go listen to Still Dead. I talk about it over there. So it took forever for Buffy to get over Angel. And in reality, if we think about it, the amount of time that she spent actually with Angel is not that much longer than the amount of time, in terms of the seasons, the episodes. Maybe it was twice as long, but still, she is basically over Riley, aside from this weird over-identification we get with the possibility that Xander and Anya could be having trouble. She does not cry over Riley being gone, but she gets upset over the idea of Xander and Anya breaking up, which I guess is supposed to be a sort of sideways processing of how she's feeling, like she's being really tough and really strong about Riley. But she's more like emotionally invested in Xander and Anya than she is really in like dealing with the fact that, you know, that she's upset that Riley's gone.
Yeah.
And it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's not even real emotional processing. We don't have a deep, heartfelt moment aside from when she talks to Dawn, in which case she's like, yeah, it's a bummer, but I'll get over it. Like she bought a pair of boots that were the wrong size, you know?
That's a really interesting scene when Dawn comes in. I mean,
yeah.
First of all, I have this idea that it's been a few weeks since Riley left.
Yeah.
Just the way, like, first of all, the way Xander talks about him in that opening scene was just bananas. Like, it is like he's been gone. I have this idea that he's been gone for a few weeks. And
it feels like a couple days to me, but maybe.
But also, like, it's confusing time-wise because we're coming in on the heels of this series of episodes that are like boom, boom, boom over the course of 3 days. And I don't know, maybe because of the conversation with Dawn, I read this as Buffy has been really like stoic about the whole thing for about 3 weeks. And then Dawn comes in and is like asking but not asking about the breakup, which is a moment that I really, really love. There's something very sweet about this sister to sister moment. And Dawn, who is like in that in-between stage of child and adult, is really genuinely asking about this kind of adult relationship that she's witnessed develop and then fizzle. And I do like Dawn saying that Riley left just when she was beginning to like him, because I feel like that was my experience. Like I was actually starting to like. I mean, I always liked his like hunky self in the beginning, but you know, last episode I was like, yeah, he's got a point. I'm like rooting for this guy, and then he's gone. So I'm like, I just me too with Dawn in that moment. Yeah, I was just getting used to him.
I was just getting used to him. I was just beginning to endure Riley, and then this happens. Yeah,
but she really, Dawn is really asking. Like, it'll get better, won't it? Like, it's very sweet. There's a really sweet undertone to that. And then, of course, Buffy is not processing, except when the possibility of Xander and Anya breaking up is even sort of hinted at. It is very sitcommy in that moment with Tara. When they're leaving class and she starts.
But I love that relationship though.
I love
Buffy and Tara being good friends and, you know, talking about everything, and Tara's adorable comedic timing as the response to Buffy's like overwhelming emotional response to this idea that Xander and Anya might be having trouble, something that she probably would not care about at all under ordinary circumstances. It's so incredibly sweet. And I just love that she throws herself into Tara's arms and Tara's like, oh, okay, I guess this is a thing we do now.
Yeah, I love Tara trying to comfort Buffy, but not being sure if they're in a relationship where they hug. It's that like we got that with Xander and Giles a couple episodes ago with you know, in the hospital with Joyce's surgery. I love a good like, do we hug moment?
Is this what we do? Is this where this relationship is going? Yes,
hugging?
I like that too. Are we a hugging family?
Friends? Is that what this is?
Yeah. Are we hugging?
But it's nice to see Tara and Buffy together, you know, taking a class together, especially after Tara's not feeling like she was part of the group in family. And Tara has really folded really, since then, Tara has folded really nicely into the group in a way that I think this episode is suggesting that Anya hasn't. We kind of seeded that last week, but then this is supposed to be, I think, I'm not totally sure, but I feel like this is supposed to be the episode where we're like, hang on. Like, Anya is the newcomer to the group, and is she really part of the group? And what's up with that?
Right.
I don't know. But I enjoy that Tara's there.
I love it.
Tara's just wonderful. And Tara being so awkward with Giles about going to England. Sounds so exotic unless you're English.
Unless you're English.
Oops.
It's so incredibly sweet. And I love the whole thing where like Willow and Anya are fighting and, Xander leaves and then Tara's like, you know what? Boom. Gone.
Yep. Not engaging.
You can see the cartoon wind in her, in her wake as she
rushes out. There's like a Tara-shaped cutout in the door.
Exactly.
She just like a Looney Tunes exits. Gotta go. Class time.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the way that she gives them the space that they need to like fix whatever it is that they're going through. So I think that that's pretty cool.
And they are going through it.
They are going through it. Willow and Anya, I'm conflicted on this whole thing. First of all, like I like the way that they fight. Like I like the jokes that come up between them. There's something really fun about seeing Willow in that position, although it does not seem terribly consistent with her character. But I do like that they, that for Willow, at least it comes from, you have 1,000 years of hating men gold watch or hurting men gold watch, right? That she's worried that Anya is going to hurt Xander, So, I mean, I like that. I like that revelation. It's kind of fun to see this back and forth between the two of them. And I like that. But the two women fight over the guy thing, is, it gets a little old for me that it becomes about these two women going at each other, and then there's this guy in the middle who's just like, like it's just one of those things that like I have limited patience for. How did you like that?
I actually really like this.
Mm-hmm.
I like I said at the opening, I misremembered how this played out. I really enjoy their conflict. In part because I have been the friend who's like, okay, I know you are with this person and you like them, but are we sure about this?
Are you, are you sure?
Really?
That one? Really?
Really?
Yeah.
This guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Somehow I sense that in you, Noelle.
It's not like I have given the side eye to anyone that you might have,
that some of your friends might have dated.
Some of my friends who I don't podcast
who will
with
remain unnamed.
Might
exactly.
have considered dating at some point. It's very like, oh God,
it
really?
Comes from love.
Really?
It comes from love.
It does.
I totally get it. I totally
but
get
also
it. Yeah.
there is the different, there is this friend protective bubble that goes up and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, hell no.
Mm-hmm.
And you do get a little bit of that friend greed. I don't see it from Willow with Xander.
Yeah.
I see it. I mean, if this is the episode about projecting things onto other relationships that they're not really about.
Yeah.
Willow is definitely projecting more negativity, I think, onto Anya than is really warranted.
Right. She doesn't like Anya, but she liked Riley. I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
She's not really judging. And that's the thing is that like, it's this two women fighting over a guy. And even though Willow is not, romantically interested in Xander anymore, because she's gay, not because they're best friends, not because that also failed between them, but the only reason why she wouldn't want Xander anymore is because she's gay, right? So they go to that joke a couple of times, and whatever.
I'll talk about that rainbow elephant in just a minute.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna hand that off to you in just a second. But Anya's pursuit of Xander and her obsession with Xander. I mean, here is a woman who was cheated on by this guy, turned him into a troll, became a vengeance demon, chose the vengeance demon major, majoring in man-hating and heteronormativity, right? That we were going to...
Oh my God, majoring in vengeance with a minor in heteronormativity is so good.
Perfect for the modern American demon. And so, like, I think with me, I love Anya. Like, I really do. I love Anya. I'm such a huge fan. I think that for me, I feel disappointed at the path not taken here, that we could have given her a little more edge, that we could have given her a little more hesitancy with Xander instead of running full at him like she's so desperate to get the love of a man in order to validate herself. I would rather have her... like she's the comedy mule. We pack her up with all the jokes because Emma Caulfield has the most immaculate comic timing of like anybody. She's unbelievably good. And I get if you have somebody who's that good at comic timing, you want to give her all the jokes. But I really wish that there was some deeper kind of hesitancy like that after everything she's witnessed over the last 1,000 years, that she might possibly give a man a little bit of a side eye first, rather than this like desperate need for Xander has to love me and Xander has to like all of that. I don't know. It doesn't. I think instead of appreciating, like, I can appreciate what they did with it, but I always feel a little bit disappointed that they didn't do something with that.
With Anya
with Anya's darkness, with her vengeance, with her having been hurt before, with seeing the things that men have done to women. And yes, incredibly heteronormative. Women hurt women, women hurt men, men hurt men. There's there's enough vengeance to go around. She chose a specialty that was extremely heteronormative. You know what? Fine. But I think that like, I wanted to see that darkness in her. I wanted to see that edge. And I feel like it comes out as this jokey, girl who goes to college for her MRS degree, that she just wants a man, Mm-hmm. And so for me, like, it falls a little flat. I feel like we could have done more with her. And she does definitely get more interesting after she and Xander break up. We get that darkness from her that I kind of wanted now.
That's interesting. I actually really love this Anya. Mm-hmm. What I feel like is missing is a clearer indication that of a clearer through line with this idea mm-hmm. that we started way back with her, that, she is new to being human again. We find out,
right.
She was
mm-hmm.
human before, but I like the idea that maybe making the adjustment back to being human, she would have, I don't know, like factory settings would be a little off or something, where she would, because she has been expressing, like early in the Anya-Xander relationship, she was expressing it very much like, I have to go to this dance. I don't know why. I just feel very compelled by my, human femaleness to be like, there's this...
Almost like it was a hormonal imperative.
Yeah, there's like a social component to it too, of like, I want to be part of being in the human world. But she doesn't care.
She doesn't care. Like in this one, Willow says there are rules, and she's like, I don't care. The rules are stupid.
Like, the rules are stupid.
Which I like about her. But yet she is subscribing to all of these kind of classic and outdated ideas about, what your youthful feminine experience needs to be. And we had like a really great opening with Anya. When she came in The Wish, she was much darker. When she's 1120 years old, just give me a beer. Like
freaking beer.
Exactly. Like that's the Anya that I wanted. That's the Anya that I miss. At the same time, going with this, like if this is the choice, they're doing that choice well. It's fun and it's funny and I adore Anya. I just always feel a little disappointed.
I really like Anya in the opening of this episode, though, where she's, I really like, if you ever decide to go, I want a warning, which of course, because we know
really sweet.
Where this is going. It's very sad. It's very tragic.
It is.
But I also just love Jane Espenson kind of channeling Nora Ephron with the, this is promise me I'll never be out there again from When Harry Met Sally. Like it's really, there's something really cute about that to me. And I love Anya saying maybe it's her. I just love, like, yes, it's problematic, but also, you know, the whole next year, same girl, different guy thing. I like the idea that she's seen this before and she's not, I don't know, not tactful enough to think like two guys is not really a pattern. Like you can't really.
Especially in somebody that young.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was the Scott Hope debacle and, of course, the Parker Abrams bullshit.
We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
None of that matters. None of that is important. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting and it's fun and she's funny. She's Emma Caulfield. She's delightful.
She's adorable. You know? She's adorable.
Yeah.
And I think I have the delight with Anya that also many of us have with Spike of like, this is not great, or yes, I would like to see her do more, but I like
But it's so wonderful what she does.
I love the Anya wanting to be in this relationship with Xander as falling under the newly human and strangely literal umbrella. I'm also just vehemently team Anya in this episode because Willow kind of sucks.
You know, kind of. She's mean.
The Cat in the Hat is not a role model, dude. Like, the fish was absolutely correct. Like, you should not be. Like, you don't know this cat. You don't know him. Like,
you don't know him. And she doesn't feel like Willow in this episode.
Well, you know, what's interesting is she feels like Willow in Pangs, which is also Jane Espenson, where Willow just like, oh God, no. Like there's a lot of not great Willowness. Willow but I love the way they clash on all of this by, you know, not talking about what they need to be talking about.
Right.
Willow thinking she made the troll and Anya being like, oh, calm down. Like, nobody made him. Like, you're not that impressive. It's very funny. The whole scene in the car is great. You don't know how to drive. I didn't know if I knew until I tried, did I? Like, they're just... It's
I'm going to hit the pedal on the right now, and I think we're going to go faster.
Exactly. It's
pretty adorable.
But this, I mean, overall, to me, this feels like a subtler take on the idea of two women fighting over a man.
Yes.
Because both Anya and Willow have real, genuine concerns about the other, which feels really valid. Even if there's not a lot of there's not a lot of leg for it to stand on there, but I do like I like Willow being like, yo, this is what you do.
I like Willow's point. Anya's point of, I'm afraid that you're going to take Xander away from me with your lips. And that she's only okay with Willow once Willow says, hi, gay now,
hello, gay
as
now.
though that's the reason why she wouldn't be with Xander, not a million other reasons.
That's the thing that punctuates it. But Anya starts with, like, you've known each other since infancy.
Right. You know him better than I ever will.
Yeah.
I actually do like that. Yeah.
I could see that being a really difficult space to be in for a new partner.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you know, Anya says, I know what broke up Xander and Cordelia. It was you. And Willow says, no, it wasn't. Okay, wait, yes, it is. You know, yes, it was.
It really was.
But but we do get that line. Hello, gay now. You know, I'm not going to take your man because I don't want no man. We need to.
That's the reason.
Like,
exactly.
We need to address the rainbow elephant in this conversation.
Yes.
So we have Willow self-identifying as gay for the first time, which is a thing. That's like a valid, totally valid, cool thing. But it's also a writing decision, right?
Yeah.
So sexuality is fluid. Identity is up to the individual. But of course, this is not a real person in the real world who had a seemingly fulfilling relationship with Oz, now identifying a different way. This is written for this character to say... And I don't love it. I also kind of love it But I know that a lot of folks who listen to this podcast identify as bisexual or pansexual.
Mm-hmm.
And if this feels like a shitty writing moment to you, yeah, totally. That is a real thing. Like the bisexual
Right.
erasure on this
Yes.
show is real.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I don't know. I just wanted to address that moment
Mm-hmm.
because on the one
Mhm.
hand, like it is a huge moment for Willow, but it's also downplayed because it's funny. And so
Right.
often women being gay is the punchline. And then we have
Yes.
then we layer some bi erasure on top of it, and it's just
Right,
so
because you're defined by who you're sleeping with at the moment. So if you're bi and you're sleeping with a man, if you're a bi woman and you're sleeping with a man, you're actually straight, you know. And if you're a bi woman and you're sleeping with a woman, then no, you're gay, you know. And yeah, I mean the space for that, for somebody to just be bi, you know, was definitely not available, you know, at this time in television. At least I can't think of an accepted, you know, unchallenged bisexual character at this time. I don't think.
I mean, A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila. When was that? Does anybody remember that? No, that was a reality show, but
yeah,
there was no like. When was that? Now I want to get on the. I literally have the DuckDuckGo machine right here. Let's find out. Oh, that's not till 2007. A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila isn't for another 6 years. So
wow.
I mean, we're really like we're hurting. We're still hurting for bisexual
bi
representation, but it is, you know, it's tricky. As much as I love that punchline, hello, gay now, is pretty. It's layered. It's complicated because it's written and not a real person in the real world self-identifying. Because newsflash, you're allowed to identify however you identify. And I know a lot of folks
decide exactly.
A lot of folks use gay as shorthand. So you do you.
However that works.
Yeah, but the bi erasure is real.
Yeah, no, it really is. Okay, so to talk about something that like I clearly cannot get through an episode without talking about. Could we talk about Spike a little bit?
Yes, we can talk about Spike. We can talk about Spike if you must.
I must. I did notice, by the way, your mention of people who love Spike earlier, and I felt attacked. I'm just saying, Spike. As always, I mean, lovingly attacked,
or seen, or both.
Yeah, a little bit of both, and I liked all of it. So Spike, as always, is delightful in this episode. Him with the mannequin doing the apology with the battered box of candies because he has been continually beating her over the head with them when she doesn't accept his apology immediately. And then when he calls her a bitch, like it's just funny, but it's also a reminder that Spike is still Spike. Like he is still a vampire. He is still evil. He still can't understand healthy human relationship or love. And that's something that we need to not forget because it is really super easy to romanticize Spike, you know, because he's so fun, because he's so funny, because he's so unbelievably hot. Like all of these things go into making the Spike soup. You know what I'm saying? So, I love that they don't, as even though we as viewers might romanticize Spike, I'm not going to say that I might do that sometimes. I might, but the bottom line is that it's wrong, and the show is acknowledging that he is still Spike. He is just William the Bloody with a chip in the head, right? So I really, really like that. And I love the moment too when Olaf comes in and asks about babies, and Spike looks at Xander and says, "I don't know. What do you think? The hospital?"
Yes,
I'm paralyzed with not caring very much.
I love him.
Yeah.
Try to get the ogre the meal that he wants. That's so very Spike. I hate Spike trying to apologize though. And immediately getting defensive and then hostile when she hasn't said anything because she's a literal mannequin. So and then he inevitably like turns angry and beats her.
Yeah.
Because his
he's evil.
head, this is a hostile encounter, and it's just this tragicomic faces vase abusive relationship thing for me. Like there's something there that I'm not.
Oh no, it's disturbing.
It's
like
fucked up.
That entitlement to her forgiveness and to her, like all of that is disturbing, and that's why I love it. It should be disturbing. You should be disturbed by Spike, and if they don't let Spike have these terrible, terrible moments, it is going to be really easy to forget and romanticize what he is. He is a monster, and you can't forget that.
And it's interesting to me how that will slide more towards delight or toward disgust depending on, I don't know, for me it's probably depending on the day. How much my male entitlement to women's bodies and experiences,
what your patience is for that male entitlement to women's bodies.
Yeah.
Yes,
but I do love I love Spike bonding with all the men on the show. I love Spike and Riley. I adore Spike and Xander.
Oh my God.
My word.
I love it too because it's motivated. Like Spike is hanging out with Xander because that's as close as he can get to Buffy.
Yes.
So he's talking to Xander just so that he can say, and he brings in so subtly. So I suppose, the Slayer, blah, 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 and he'll bring in stuff that has nothing to do with Buffy, but he's bringing her into the conversation. I love how deftly that is done. And it's really fun to see him and Xander playing pool together.
I really enjoy them commiserating.
They were roommates for a while. Like they bonded. There's a bond there. Yeah.
And they're kind of doing their little pool playing women, am I right? Bit, which
right.
I don't, whatever. Fuck you, women, am I right? But also it's perfect for them. They're so cute. Yeah. And I love Spike trying to empathize with Xander about nobody gets Anya. And he's like, yeah, nobody really got Drew either. And
I know.
Xander's like, well, she was insane. Okay, that's a bridge too far, bro. But Spike loves the bloomin' onion at the Bronze.
No.
Can we just, a moment of appreciation for Spike and food? It is one of the funniest beats that they keep hitting.
I love it. I know.
I love that he loves
this little onion thing.
So funny. This onion. They have this onion thing.
I know. It's so adorable. And we're going to hit that a few more times before the run of this show is over. And every time it's goddamn delightful.
He's so funny with his love of food. And then, and then after the fight, he wants credit for not feeding off bleeding disaster victims.
Yes. She's like, you want credit for that? And he's like, well, yeah.
And she says, you're disgusting, and walks away. And he goes, what's it take?
What's it take? But he's so heartbroken, though. His read on what's it take? He genuinely doesn't know. And he's trying to.
He's trying, but he doesn't. God. I mean, he is trying to. Yeah. He's trying to be good to her in this weird way.
And we get that from him. I know you wouldn't like it. Right?
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't like it, which is something that we're going to see later when he takes a hell of a beating to protect Dawn.
Yeah.
And there's something about that his sense of goodness and his sense of morality is being filtered through Buffy, but he looks at things and says, if she would not approve, then I won't do it. He is literally walking around with a bracelet on that says, what would Buffy do? That's his reference point. And there is something about that love that he is denying his own true nature, which of course was denied to him because of the chip anyway, so he's already been struggling with that identity regardless of this, but that he is more deeply going into this space that contradicts his actual nature so that he can try to be good for her. And it's complicated and it's not healthy and it's not necessarily really good, but Jesus, there's something about it which is really in a sick way, very loving.
Well, I like it because it's not, the love of a good woman changes a bad man.
Right.
She's not involved, really. She's just there, kind of putting up with him because, she likes him. Whether or not she would admit it, she likes him. But he loves her at this point. And it is what would Buffy do.
It is what would Buffy do. And that's what he looks at as his moral, because he doesn't have an internal moral center. So he is actually reaching externally for a moral center, and struggling a bit because he beats up a mannequin and calls her a bitch. Like, that's not good.
The mannequin thing is distressing.
It's distressing, and it should be. It needs to be. We need to feel that distress so that we have that emotional dissonance, which is so like fun to play with, where you're like, I know this is wrong, but I love this character. Like, I feel this struggle. And I love the whole thing. The whole thing with Spike is just, it's so fun for me to just ride this whole thing from the moment he gets the chip in season 4 all the way through to the end. I love the ride with Spike, with very few, a couple of moments of exception to loving that ride. But most of the time, it's really, really great.
So we've got this funny episode, right?
Yes.
It's like sitcommy and ridiculous. And, there are like hints of darkness here and there. And then we have this ending.
Yeah.
It's like a punch to the freaking gut. What?
Oh my God. Like,
guys.
I'm not a big fan of the overhearing thing. And also, if you're having a conversation like that, you do it in a place where the, 14-year-old kid doesn't have a chance of overhearing it, because that's something you don't want to have happen. But my God, when they're talking about it, and then Joyce is like, she feels like my daughter, that whole thing. And then there is Dawn listening and trying to absorb this. And she's just a kid. And oh my God. And so we have this like unbelievably silly, possibly one of the silliest episodes of Buffy, and then to turn the tone like that on a dime and kind of park us on a downhill slope into next week's episode.
Oh yeah.
That's serious business.
It's rough, and it's also just weird. Like, why are you having this conversation where you can be overheard? I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, it's really bad. And the overhearing thing is also something that I'm not a huge fan of, But yeah, it's going to be tough though. And Dawn's reaction is wonderful. Dawn having a deeper understanding of her own role in what's going on, I think is something that I'm really looking forward to. I don't like how it happens, but I like that it happens, if that makes sense.
Well, it would have to happen, right? Like, it would have to happen.
But I would rather Buffy actually tell her when
oh my God,
she
so
needs
much
to know. I would rather somebody actually have that conversation with her, because she's not just a 14-year-old kid. She is a mystical fucking key, and like she needs to know. I get the desire to protect her, but you can't. Like, there's only so much you can do without her knowing. Like, you telling her is protecting her.
Well, that's a trope that I am so ready to see die. We can't give this person vital information about themselves because then we will endanger them.
No,
that really is borderline like spooky language to control people, right? Like, if we don't tell you the truth about yourself, or we don't tell you, like, in the everything is a metaphor camp, right? If we don't tell you the truth about our family.
Yeah.
Because there's that too, right? We've been doing a lot of like the importance of chosen family and the importance of who is your family and who is allowed into that circle and who is not and all of that.
And conflicts based on keeping secrets are never good. They're just never good. They're never as satisfying in narrative than conflicts that are based on everybody knowing exactly what's happening. If you have a conflict that's based on a misunderstanding, you have a conflict that's based on somebody not telling the full truth to somebody else. I think sometimes that can work, but most of the time it's just cheap conflict, and it doesn't hold up in the end.
And it's a bummer, and I just always end up disliking everyone involved. So we end this episode with Dawn overhearing the conversation about herself.
The nature of her existence.
The nature
yes.
of her existence, you know, NBD, right?
Yes. Right.
And we end on a shot of Dawn on the stairs while Joyce is speaking.
Yes.
And I think Jane Espenson accidentally, or maybe accidentally on purpose, crafted a giant metaphor here in this last little interaction. That I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole for a minute.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So a few weeks ago, I threw out my headcanon. Sorry. That the monks fiddling with reality to make Dawn is what caused Joyce's tumor.
Yeah.
And I had this idea that was textually acknowledged somewhere, and you said no, it's just one of those unfortunate
I don't think so.
Whedonian coincidences.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect Whedonian coincidence, of course. Like, let's make this as awful as possible, right? But I want to talk about this today, partly because of how this episode ends, but mostly because it's Mother's Day in the United States as we're recording this. So
right.
I was talking to our dear friend, Dr. Kelly Jones, about the lack of mystical pregnancy in Buffy.
Interesting.
It's something that Angel, the series, does all the friggin' time.
Distraction. Yes, it's terrible.
But Buffy doesn't do it. Except here. Sort of.
Yeah.
So we railed against the idea that you'd put a mystical inside a teenage human and then make them go through puberty and middle school just to, I don't know, save the world or whatever. Like, that remains shitty. And it definitely speaks to male entitlement to women's bodies and experiences. But also, presumably, Joyce remembers giving birth to that baby. Right. Joyce remembers the interminable newborn period and the stress of also parenting a school-age child on 0 hours of sleep. Because you know Hank Summers was not helping with the middle of the night feedings and diaper changes.
Absolutely
he was
not. Yes.
Not to mention the very real possibility of postpartum depression, which I survived twice and is among the definitions of hell on earth.
Yeah.
So I bring this up partly to keep the show on the hook for this mystical pregnancy, but also to suggest that the psychic and energetic fallout of creating not just a sister for the Slayer, but a second pseudo-biological child for the mother of the Slayer.
Yeah.
A gestational parent will have unique body memories associated with growing a baby. You can't monkey with Joyce's mind on this key hiding mission and not also monkey with her body.
Yeah.
So Joyce's tumor is a side effect of her mystical pregnancy, but because it's not her show, we just glide right over that.
Wow.
And Joyce herself seems to kind of whistle past the whole thing, right? Like last time
she's just like, oh my God, I can't believe it, you know?
And last time we saw Buffy and Joyce discussing Dawn, it was this bizarre, unhealthy mother-daughter dynamic where Joyce was hospitalized and infantilized and going to Buffy for comfort. And I bounced really hard off of that, and I still do. And then here, Joyce seems to be addressing the issue by choosing not to address it.
You know, she addresses it the way that you do when somebody you really, really like has just been Me Too'd, and you're like, oh my God, you know, like, I can't believe that, you know, like, this is somebody I really, really liked. And she talks about it like that, but you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a violation of her mind, of her body, of her memory, of her experience, you know, and that is, I can't even imagine how you would process that.
Well, and she also tells Giles that she and Buffy talked about it, but she seems way more up to speed on the state of glory and the key and what that all means than she was the last time we heard anything about it.
Right.
Which means that we missed that conversation between Buffy and Joyce, which I don't love.
Yeah.
You know, and then she says, I can't even think about this. It's too, and she trails off, interrupts herself and says, I'll get some more milk. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, there is this really powerful, beautiful metaphor in this episode's final line to kind of sum up Joyce's role of capital M mother in the fragile, nurturing, don't ask too many questions way. Joyce nopes out of the conversation to get milk, the literal sustenance from mother to child.
Yeah.
And we just let it go. Like, we just let it go. We let the whole effect of all of this on the mother of this mystical child just completely erased because it's not her show.
It's a real opportunity, though, to like do something very interesting with Joyce, because Joyce is like a character who does not ever get much of her own agency. The only time during this whole run when she has sex that we really know of, she might have had sex with a robot. I'm not really sure. But like, it's when she's under the effects of, and she's actually drugged. Yeah. She's drugged when she's under the effects of the band candy, when she has sex with Giles. She's drugged by Ted, the robot, with all of his, the stuff that he's putting in the food. And that's the only time that she has like any kind of personal moment to herself. This is an incredible violation of her in a number of ways. One, to give her a child and experiences and memories that are not real. And then also to take them away, to give them and then pull them back. And she has to deal with violations at every turn. And the idea that everybody else is allowed to have, Giles has his Ripper moments, and everybody has like all of these things where they go off and they have their, Willow tries to end the world in season 6. Like, everybody has their moments where they get to go off the edge, and Joyce just has to take the punches and then be like, please allow me to go, fetch something for somebody else, or like, it is. And then, give her this brain tumor, and she never gets to express herself as a person. She never gets to really like have feelings or have a storyline. She never gets her own actual storyline. And I think it would be really interesting to see her be more than the conflict vending machine that she is during the first couple of seasons, and be more than just the mom, during these seasons, to actually give her, we allow Giles as an adult to have his own stories.
Exactly.
But Joyce doesn't get to be her own person. She is very, very much owned by everybody else, Yep.
Yeah. Yep. It also dovetails nicely with my theory about the show not having any representation of women over the age of, 25. Like, there's just not, you just cease to exist.
Yeah.
You cease to exist.
You become something upon which everybody else feeds, either literally or, or metaphorically.
Yeah. Like, whoa, that's a little disturbing. A
little bit.
But and I also understand at the same time, if we're telling a show primarily from the point of view of, a 16 to 22-year-old young woman, your parents don't really have thoughts and feelings and individual lives at that stage for a lot of us. But as you say,
right? But Giles
work
does.
Dad gets to have all kinds of complicated emotional.
Right. I mean, Ethan
downs.
Rain has more than Joyce does. Wesley gets more than Joyce does.
It's true.
Women over the age of like 30 are just there to service everybody else in one way or another, right?
Or to be evil.
Or to be evil, right? Yeah. I mean, the problem with women over a certain age, I think, is because, like, men over a certain age, we get Quentin Travers, we get all sorts of male characters that have their own agency, that are doing things, that are, that have their own goals and are not just living in service to other people. But even Glory, like as our female villain. You know, bitch is like 25, like physically how she appears. You know, she may be thousands of years old. Same with Anya, thousands of years old. But if she had a wrinkle, that'd be it. We wouldn't be interested. And that is absolutely kind of a disturbing thing, and which makes me feel very uncomfortable about like trying to transition into what are you wearing? Now I feel all awkward about it.
Okay, all right. Buffy in the convent with the nun, like, okay, that stray lock of blonde hair that is a visual misdirect to make us think for half a second that Buffy joined the convent.
Right.
No, like, it does not work for me. I do not like it.
Yes.
I do. I mean, also because where in Southern California are nuns wearing full habit? Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
But
yes.
I love Buffy ending that scene saying, "How's the food?"
How's the food?
That I'm like, all right, Espenson, I will
do you
give
have to be super religious? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give it to you. Like, this
Right.
time you get it. This time you get the visual misdirect because we get that line. But then I love later when Buffy says, I met a nun and she let me try on her wimple.
Oh. That's pretty sweet.
Total, like, no, like, that's a normal thing that people say. It's just
That's
delightful.
not at all personal and invasive.
I
Yes.
want
Can
that
try
scene, by the way. What happened? How did that? Anyway.
How does that even happen?
How did that
I
come
don't
to
know.
pass? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then my other wardrobe related observation.
Yes.
What is hair and makeup doing with Willow's hair in this episode? Are they trying to
Right.
make her look like Anya?
Yeah, it's very like it's a curly style that is not typical Willow. And Willow just feels like a little bit not Willow for me this week.
Willow feels a little off, but also, you know, we're maybe kind of sort of foreshadowing that Willow and Magic not going to do so well together.
Yeah, that it's going to be a problem for her, but that's definitely a long tail.
That's a long,
you
I
know?
mean, who knows? Who knows? But,
Yeah.
and how is Amy still a rat? I know I've completely derailed us from wardrobe, but we get a mention of Amy the rat. How is Amy still a rat? Come on.
I don't know. Willow is able to do like a million things. She can disappear a cash register. She brings back, she's floating stuff. Like she can de-rat Amy. She keeps trying and can't do it. Plus the fact that like we've already had it established like with Xander that like, you know, your natural state is together. So all we have to do is say, let the spell be ended. She can create one Xander from two Xanders, but she can't create one Amy from a rat. So yeah, I don't know. Like I understand why we do that, you know, because we're saving Amy for later, which is fun, and there's a fun use for that. But yeah, I don't know why Amy's still a rat. I have to say though, for my what are you wearing, like Anya's polka dot top is absolutely like I have a thing about polka dots. I love polka dots, and man, I saw that top and I was like, that is hot. That's beautiful. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Everyone looks really good. I feel like you know, like as
season 5, everybody's looking real good.
Everybody's looking really good. Tara's going a little hard on the eyeshadow. It's okay though. Like
I like it.
It's good. It's a look. It's a lot of look, but it's a look.
It's a lot of look. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your girl power moment of the week?
Oh, not with a girl power bit.
I think Buffy beating up the troll with the power of love.
Oh, God.
It's just, yeah, it's corny. It's cheesy.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine. I like it. There's something about it that it's goofy. It feels like it's a weird nail in the coffin of the Riley Buffy thing, but also I kind of am okay with it.
Yeah, but nobody was going to have the patience for, I miss Riley.
Right?
So nobody misses Riley. Nobody misses Riley. It's not how this shit works.
Except Xander.
Except, of course, Xander, who has the most emotional moment of missing Riley.
Poor Xander.
You know, with the crescent wrench.
Sweet Anya telling him that if Riley comes back, it won't be for the crescent wrench.
Oh. Riley
buddy.
doesn't feel that way about you, Xander. All right, Noelle, what's your favorite part?
I think it's the when we were dating reveal. And then everyone looks at Anya
And she's just got that guilty look on her
She's just
face.
like, how do I? Nope,
How do
I can't get out of this
one?
one. I can't get out of this
that's not gonna
one.
work. That's not going to work. Yeah.
What about you?
It's Spike. I mean, do I even need to just everything Spike playing pool with Xander and the bloomin' onion? Yeah, the whole thing. I love all of it. And I maybe you want to shame me for it. That might be appropriate, but I'm going to love it anyway.
No, you're love what you love, baby.
Love what you love, man. If you enjoyed this conversation, would like to join in, come find us on social media. I am at Lani Diane Rich on Twitter, and Noelle is at Noelle Aloud on Instagram, and the hashtag is Still Pretty.
This episode of Still Pretty was brought to you by the Chipperish Media producers who support us on Patreon at the power producer level. These people are the reason why Still Pretty is coming to you free and ad-free right now, so thank you to our May producers, Abigail, Alice, Crimson Glass, Erica, Jonathan, Kristen, Sarah, and Shelley. And this week's special message for our power producers: alternate universes don't stay put. It's like trying to hit a puppy by throwing a live bee at it, which is a weird image, and you should all just forget it.
To find out how you too can support Chipperish Media, visit patreon.com/chipperish. Other ways to show your support: write a great review on Apple Podcasts, tell your friends about the show, or get your 1,000 Years of Hurting Men gold watch.
We will be back next time with Checkpoint, the 12th episode of Season 5. Until then, I have finesse. I have finesse coming out of my bottom.